Ulonga tabati yada tó yẹ kó máa da ifá. Inú tó yẹ kó jẹun lọ fi bí pa. Ọba tálá, ọba takuntakun. Ṣàngó, Èṣù, Ògún, Ọya, Ọ̀ṣun. Ìwọ ló ń bọ̀ nílé yìí. Kí ni ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tán ṣe nílé yìí o? Ó jẹ́ lọ jára rẹ̀.
Alafia, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Welcome to another episode of the African Spirituality Experience. I am your host, Orisha Bami, and today we are back tribe with another one of our community elders, and on top of that, internationally renowned worldwide, historian, scholar, teacher, master teacher, lecturer, author, the list goes on, documentary producer and director, the list goes on and on and on, but without further ado, with that being said, Professor Kaba, peace and blessings. How you doing, man? I appreciate you taking the time to join us again.
My brother Orisha Bami, thank you for the opportunity, and I just bring greetings to everyone that's going to be on this. I've been looking forward to this conversation, brother. So, it's all good. Taking it day by day, step by step, man.
Ashe. Oh, yes, sir. And I appreciate it. And shout out to the tribe, man. Shout out to the new channel subscribers. Shout out to the new Patreon members. Shout out to everybody who, been hitting me up via the emails, the DMs, and, just connecting with the crew, man, and connecting with the tribe. It's definitely a long time coming, and a lot of work has been done, but we got a whole lot more to do. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive right into it. So there's a lot going on right now, Professor Kaba, and I know last time we spoke, I believe it was when we did the documentary watch party, and there's a lot going on then. There's a lot going on every time we speak. But as far as now, we see all the different government shutdowns. We see the orange guy in the office just running amok, acting a daggone fool, just doing whatever. we see these so-called ICE agents running up on people in the streets, and they're running up on some of the wrong people, and things ain't going the way they wanted to. But it's just a lot, So with that, what would you give, to our people and to the community and to the culture and to the globe, in regards to us and where we are right now as where it stands with the current events and the current things that are transpiring, right before our eyes, here in what we call America?
Well, my brother Orisha Bami, and to the family that's tuned in, whether it be live or if you see it down the road, I just want to send my respect, my love, my thoughts, prayers to all of you who are being impacted by this horrific shutdown. It's just a horrific event. And even with all of the other things that are happening, I believe, this is my own personal opinion, this is my thoughts, I think the present administration is the most consequential administration America has ever had. Going beyond the 250 years that we are about to celebrate, 2026, going back to 1492, what becomes important is that we realize that it's easier said than done. But the reality of it is, I believe, the way life is, the way the cosmos exists, we have to get here before we get there. It's not something that I would have wanted, but I've been working my entire life talking about this. When I watch them chasing down our brothers and sisters on the farms recently, I thought of when they chased us, Black folk, on the plantations. Black folk in America and in the hemisphere are in a very unique position, because what is happening now is happening to them now. We've been through this. We know what this is. We have had the equivalent of ICE agents in our community. ICE agents that act like they acted when they were in the ICE age. We've been through this. The stripping of the rights of a human being is something we have lived since we got here. Be your date 1526 or 1492. This has been our legacy in this country. And we were able to overcome that. And so it becomes important as we move through this process, Brother Orisha Bami, and to the family that's watching this, and we realize, have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Bob Marley say, some say it's just a part of it. We have to fulfill the book. We had to get here. And it would have taken somebody like this administration to show us, but more importantly, show them. They, people of European descent that are being impacted by this, guess who you are? You are the new niggas.
Yeah.
Might be called wiggers, white niggers. I don't use that word. I use it for dramatic sake, to help you understand how irregardless they are to each other. They talk about the Willie Lynch syndrome. This is the Willie Lynch syndrome on them.
Yeah.
We have to get ourselves together. We have to get ourselves together. This ain't the first time that their civilization has fallen. The Persian Empire fell. The Greek Empire fell. The Roman Empire fell. And every time it fell, Black people. Not only that, but it was when they invaded Africa that they became an empire. And it was when they interpreted what African folk were teaching them that they misrepresented it and made it fall. And now this one is falling. I call this the Omen Empire. This is the last one in this sect because of the nature of what science tells us about what's happening and about why they're doing this. This is their last stand. Because you see, we are far too sophisticated. And let me tell you something else. Africa is the only continent on this earth that could close its borders, open its borders with each other, all so-called 54 countries, and would not need to go outside the continent for anything that they need. Solar power is the future wealth of the planet. I'm developing a curriculum around teaching children and our community solar power. Because I keep telling you, solar power is the future wealth of the planet. Well, now that I have finished my 5th and final book in my series, now I'm developing curriculum guides, because that's really what I was doing. I started writing books. If you want to talk about when I started writing the books, back in 2014. September, to be exact, of 2014. I had gone to California, and I went to Florida, Hollywood, Florida. Phenomenal family invited me to come in and to do workshops for families that were homeschooling their children. And so I went, and there was a brother that had a business, ice cream business, that attended my sessions. And he said to me, "Man, do you have any books that I could order?" And I said, "No, I'm not a writer of books. I write curriculums. I don't write books." I've written hundreds. I would even dare say 1,000, over 1,000 curriculum guides, lesson plans. And I didn't write books. That was in Florida. Then when I went to California, I did some workshops at an African-centered school called Marcus Garvey, Los Angeles. There was a sister that published books, and there was a sister that wrote books, and she and I co-presented to the community and to the teachers about education.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, "You have any?" This is the same summer, by the way. She said, "Do you have any books?" And I said, "Sister, I don't write books. I write curriculum guides." She said, "But listen, what you just presented to us, if you transcribe that, that could be a book."
I said, yes, sir.
And so I took that as a message from the Creator and ancestors. Once I got that message the second time, same summer, write books, I said, okay, I'm going to start. But I write curriculums. And when people say, well, what's the difference? I give an example. Let's say you were into cooking. And you went all around the world and you sampled how different countries cook rice and peas and chicken. Okay. You go to the Spanish-speaking countries in the Caribbean. You go to people in Europe and how they cook chicken and rice and beans. And you go to China. You come to America, South America, and you write a book on different ways that you cook chicken, rice, and peas. That's writing books. A curriculum is if you wrote the recipes on how to cook chicken, rice, and peas. Curriculum teaches you how to do something, whereas a book tells you what it is that they're cooking.
Yeah.
It's a different mindset. Because everything that I read, I say to myself, now, how can I teach this to children? How can I teach this to our community? And so I set it up as it relates to what is my aim to teach? What's my procedure to teach it? It's like a recipe. But now that I've written my 5 books, and they're all in a series, every one of them is connected. Every one of my books is connected. We have to get ourselves together.
Oh yeah.
I'm into education. I look at our brother who just joined the ancestors, Professor Neely Fuller. He outlined 9 areas.
Yep, you about to know.
Okay, spirituality or religion. We need to get all of our religious and spiritual leaders together.
Yep.
And begin to develop. Please, what is that, brother?
This is his book, The Compensatory. Matter of fact, I want to see.
Okay, because I can't see it. Yeah,
yep.
That's right. The Compensatory Code to White Supremacy.
Yep. I think you the one that turned me on to his work, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. And he identified 9 areas.
Yep.
And I use the acronym REL SEL WEP. REL SEL WEP. R is religion. We need to bring all of our religious leaders together, be they Christian, Muslim, Hebrew, Rosicrucian, Buddhist, Zen, agnostic, atheistic, or if they just go deep inside the Orishas or the Neteru. We need to bring them all together, and they need to devise a plan as to how they're going to bring our people through this. Then we have economics. We need to bring our brothers and sisters such as Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. George Frazier, Dr. Karen Hunter. And every group needs to have a balanced male and female energy. Bring all the economists together that want to participate and devise a plan collectively as to how we're going to deal with this economy. The L of REL is labor, work. Number one thing, we must have a work ethic. There are no shortcuts to excellence and mediocrity. Being mediocre is not a word in our vocabulary. We need to hire our own. I know I got a post up on Instagram where I tell people I'm black first. I am black first. Everybody's looking out for their people. We need to look out for our own people. We need to hire our own. And if you want to know who to hire, start with your family. Start with hiring your family. Now, sell, S-E-L. Of course, I have a problem with the S as a word because sometimes our minds go elsewhere when we use the word sex. I call it gender issues.
I like that.
Brothers and sisters, we got to get back to black love. We have to get back to not only loving ourselves, but loving each other. We need to get our psychologists together, our psychiatrists together, our social workers together, our human resource people together, and we need to start to have some real deep workshops on black male and female relationships.
Yes, sir.
And whatever, and see, I've done it twice. I've done 2 serious conferences on black male female relationships. And the first thing I tell them is, we ain't going to talk about what I don't like about you.
Yes, sir.
What the problems are. Talk about what the good things are. Because then you build a trust. I know we got issue. How could we not have issue?
Right.
When our women could be just raped at will? Our men could be raped at will? We were taught to hate each other? And even now they plot to advance one group against the other.
Yeah.
And play us against each other.
Yep.
Remember when we were on the plantation by ourselves? Well, nobody given no advantages. If the man couldn't go out to work, the woman had to go out, not only do her job, but his job too.
Facts.
There is nothing more threatening to those who would wish to oppress us than black love. And the strength of our families. Building dynasties. So that's the S of the cell. E, the next E, that's my area. That's my lane. Education.
Yes, sir.
That's where I feel most comfortable. I got game in education. When I walk into a classroom, it's like Michael Jordan walking onto a basketball court.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I own my greatness. I know I have a lot more to learn, but I own my greatness. That's my lane.
That part.
And I don't get out my lane. Because I've learned from some of the most brilliant people that if you change your lane, an absolute genius can become an absolute fool if they go into a lane that they can't handle. It's not that you might not be able to handle. I have somewhat information and I have an idea of all the different lanes, but I don't profess to be an expert in all the other lanes. Education is where I got game. The next L is law. We got to get all our lawyers together. And the one thing I want to tell lawyers, the ones that go to school to get their law degree, I'm encouraging you to study Moorish law. Moorish law will give you another view of a type of law that goes beyond anything this has. Because you can see right now, the civilization, Western civilization, despite all the treaties they signed with the indigenous and the Native American people, with all the laws that they put on the books, like civil rights and voting rights, and they can take them all away. They have no shame in one day saying this is law, and the next day we ain't gonna follow that law. Look around.
Yeah.
The evidence is right in front of us.
Oh yeah.
The only laws they honor are the laws that honor them.
Mm.
But once you don't honor them no more, that law don't apply.
Mm.
So we need to get our lawyers together. Security. That's war. I call it security. The Black Panther Party dropped it on us.
Mm-hmm.
The Deacons of Defense dropped it on us.
Mm-hmm.
And according to your purpose in the community, gangs are dropping it on us.
Mm-hmm.
Don't lose sight of gangs now.
Mm.
You know, it's not always in the best interest of certain people.
Mm.
But they're at war.
Mm.
And if something broke in the community, you better believe the Bloods and Crips know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I reach out to all of those organizations. And I want you to turn your ways around so that grandma feels safe in the community, that our mothers feel safe, our fathers feel safe in our communities. They can walk down the street. Our children need to feel safe in playgrounds, that they can play and have fun as children should do. But we need to secure that. And by the way, you can be as rich as you want to be. But if you can't secure what you have, you don't have it. You're just holding it until someone stronger than you comes and takes it from you. You better be able to secure what you have. So just having it don't mean a thing. Can you keep it? Can you secure it? That's the question. The 30 is entertainment. We need to get all our entertainers together, as many that want to come together. Jim Brown did it. Jim Brown, back in the day, brought together Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Muhammad Ali. He brought together basketball players, football players.
Yeah.
I heard there was even some hockey players up in there.
Yeah. What's the brother that played for the Celtics? Cannot think of his name. He won like 9-10 rings. Tall brother. He had a ring for every finger on his hand.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Russell, Bill Russell.
Bill Russell. There you go. Yeah, Russell. He was part of that movement. If I'm
That's
not mistaken. Right. Yeah.
I remember there was a meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, him, Ali, Jim Brown, all the big boys that that was doing their thing in sports. And that's when we had real revolutionaries and freedom fighters in sports. That was before I feel like they infiltrated them, just like they did the Panther Party and everything else. And they pretty much let them know, look, if you're coming into this level, this is what you're going to be. This is what you're going to do. And if you try to do anything outside of that, we're going to Kaepernick you. We're going to Kaepernick you and Kyrie you. Shout out to Kaepernick and Kyrie, but you got to be kind of wired a different way. We've seen it happen with the brother Nick Cannon. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got to be freedom or death. Because of that. You could be compromised.
And that meeting came together to protect Muhammad Ali. That was the center point that brought everybody together. And it has been recorded that Muhammad Ali said, look, if all of y'all are coming together to convince me not to do what I'm going to do, forget about it. Jim Brown said, that ain't why we're here. We're here to let you know that we support you and we're behind you for whatever you do. You're an honorable man. And that was when they attempted to strip him of his title.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to bring those entertainers together like that again. Because what brought them together was pressure. The kind of pressure we're under now.
That part.
See, because even with this latest scandal, so-called scandal about the betting and what they're talking about in terms of of the people involved in sports betting. You know, I saw they named the black folk, but they didn't name the families.
You peep
So-called
that too.
mafia families. I ain't heard no names come out.
Right. So you'll throw Chauncey Billups, you'll throw, you know what I'm saying, the melanated brothers up under the bus and put them all in the headlines and all that. But what about the people who really running the show? Like who?
That's
really
right. The people that are behind it. All you did was call them families. Okay. So the entertainment world, with all that money they have to come together. And they have to support all the other areas that are trying to do something because they got the finances. The two most important organizations in the black community with the most power are the churches and the gangs, the area of religion and the area of security. We have to understand certain things. We need to bring those findings. You want a mega church? How about a mega school? How about a mega labor union? How about a powerful organization that brings brothers and sisters in and counsels them on the mental issues? And having been in the school system, my brother Orisha Bemi, I've been around our children.
Yes, sir.
And particularly our mothers, because that's really who comes to the meetings. That's really who comes to pick the children up for the most part. I've had brothers involved.
Right.
And that's why I opened up my conversations by sending my prayers, respect, and honor to all those that are being impacted by this shutdown.
Yeah.
Because I can only imagine what's going to happen if those benefits are cut. We're going to have hungry children.
Yeah.
We're going to have hungry mothers. We're going to have hungry families. Not to mention healthcare. And so the folk that got the money got to come to understand something. We pooled our money together on the plantation when we was getting on the Underground Railroad. We had Uncle Tom up in the house, put together packages of food to bring it down to us as we were about to go on the road on the Underground Railroad. Because Uncle Tom is a hero in the story. We tend to use the Uncle Tom as a negative name, but Uncle Tom actually is the hero of the story.
I love that you went there, Professor Kaba, because I see a crystal clear parallel in between how they painted the picture or the story or narrative of Uncle Tom, the same way they did about voodoo, you know what I'm saying? Like, so anything that had some significance and some real ashe or some real energy or real power behind it, they always found a way to weaponize it to make it seem as if, no, y'all stay away from this. Y'all stay away from them Uncle Toms. Y'all stay away from voodoo. Y'all stay away from African spirituality. Everything that has power.
That's it.
They've been influencing and trying to influence and program us to stay away from.
That's right.
Can you share a little more about Uncle Tom?
Uncle Tom was the devil, and voodoo and Santeria and Candomblé was devil worship. And then they put the mind on you that anything that deals with the devil is wrong. And so therefore you stayed away from that which was going to free your African mind. See, I'm not worried about the Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom was the one in the big house that used to come down and tell the people on the plantation house what was going on up there and when was the best time to leave on the Underground Railroad. And here's a sack of food to bring with you. It'll at least get you to your first place.
Yeah.
Because they had tracked how long it would take to get to a certain other safe house. And so Uncle Tom gave you enough food to get you there. Then you replenished your supplies. But it was the Sambo in the plantation house that was going to report what Uncle Tom was telling the brothers and sisters in the plantation. See, I ain't worried about Uncle Tom. It's Sambo you got to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
Because Sambo is the one amongst you.
Yep.
Sambo is the one that is always doing everything for you to help you out to find out what your plans are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in the entertainment field, we need to bring our performers in place in whatever form entertainment they have, be it sports or movies or music or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then politics.
Mm-hmm.
We need our politicians to come together and figure out what's best for them. And I'm not saying Democrat or Republican. I'm not saying independent or liberal, progressive, because all them words don't mean nothing to me.
Mm-mm.
It's your heart.
Yes, sir.
So those are the 9 areas that Professor Neely Fuller identified. But I want to add another one that I think is very important. And he mentions it, but he doesn't make it one of the 9 areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to take the liberty of making it a 10th area. And that's health and nutrition.
Woo! Yes.
We need to bring Queen Afua. We need to bring Sister Ma'at, Dr. Sebi's wife. We need to bring Brother Victor, Dr. Sebi's son. And all the other health nutritionists that I may not be naming. Those are the ones that I have had associations with. But all of the other health nutritionists, the doctors, bring them all together. And let's figure out a plan to keep our people healthy. Because I don't care how great a pastor you may be. If you're sick, you're in trouble. I don't care what type of economist you are. If you're sick, it don't make a difference what type of labor leader you are. If you're sick, be you a psychiatrist, a psychologist if you're sick, an educator if you're sick, a lawyer if you're sick. Doesn't make a difference what type of warrior you are if you're sick, or entertainer if you're sick, or politician if you're sick. We got to get our health and nutrition in place. We need to have an exercise program of our bodies that we put in place. One of the most important things that we have to understand is that as you mature, your liquid systems dry up. Your phlegm, okay, your mucus, your hormones, your cerebrospinal fluids, all of your liquid systems, that your blood, it all dries up. That's what gives you arthritis, is that things have dried up. And so what you have to do is you have to keep your organs and glands in place. And you understand that organs do the work and glands secrete the liquids. They work hand in hand. And all of your organs and glands are located all along your backbone or in the back. And in order to keep a strong skeletal system, and in order to keep your organs functioning properly, be they secreting liquids or doing work, you need to have a strong abdomen. So you have to do abdominal muscles every day. Abdominal muscle exercise every day. You don't have to go buck wild crazy on it. You just have to keep your abdomen strong, because your abdomen keeps your backbone strong. When your backbone is strong, your organs and glands can function. But when you sit there and can't push yourself away from the table, you should always, every time you eat anything or drink anything, you should be only 85% satiated. You should always have 15% more you could have eaten. But when you eat to the point where you say, I can't even get up out this chair, you're in trouble. When the first thing you can't even get up out the chair, you fall asleep. That itis be kicking in.
Yep. Yeah.
These are the kinds of things that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So we got the rel, the cell, the wep, and we have health and nutrition. And those areas are the areas that we need to come together and devise a plan for our community, for our people, but most importantly, our children.
I say. Yeah, that's powerful, Professor Kaba. And real quick too, shout out to I am SCG Madi Goddess 13. Like we working on doing some collaborations. We're doing just that, talking about sexual trauma and healing, within our community, because she works with like orgone crystals and she heals people, or she guides people that have been through sexual trauma, whether it be abuse, whether it be whatever the case may be, molestation or whatever it is, or just trauma in general, but tying in the crystal technology into healing with it. And she's a student of Dr. Blair as well. And it's funny because I remember on our first time I interviewed her, I was telling her about how I came across Dr. Blair's work, and it was because of one of the interviews I saw you talking to someone. I can't remember who was interviewing you, but somehow Dr. Blair came up, and I just remember recalling you telling that interviewer, like, Dr. Blair is like, that brother, his mind is so like just so far, gone. Like when you listen to him, it's like taking rubber bands and pulling them all the way as far as you can away, like all the way till you get that tension, and then right before you get ready to like let it go, that's when he'll bring you back in. He's like, but he's gonna pull you all the way out there. And I'll never forget. I was like, yo, if this dude, I don't know who this Dr. Blair dude is, but if he's doing Professor Kaba's mind like that, I need to find this brother and see what he's talking about. And I'll be damn, man. The very first time I found a video with him, I was like, okay, yep, I get it. And then that's when I went down that rabbit hole, and the rest is history. But she learned some of the technology that he was using with crystal, crystal healing and crystal protection. And he was into the EMF protection, all that good stuff. So she's taking that and kind of using that into the healing lane. And so we're gonna do some work together, working on that. And then real quick before we go to the real topic, well, the main topic at hand, I want to share, this is another powerful piece of work too, Understanding Jim Crow by David Pilgrim. Very, very powerful book, because this breaks down the whole psychology and, what I'm saying, all the mental, I feel like subliminal seduction that they do with entertainment, all that good stuff, that Sambo mentality, all that. Like, it's a very powerful book, and it breaks it down, how all this is all strategy. But, we got our own strategy too. And so when you talk about these Sambos, I always got to go back to one of my favorite documentaries, if not my favorite documentary of all times, which is 1804. One that you was a star in, and shout out to the Professor Smallses, and shout out to the what's the queen's name, by Professor Baina Bello, and y'all had a all-star cast in that documentary. But I just recall learning those lessons, and you got to kind of figure out a way to get rid of them Sambos. You got to get rid of them, wipe them out and get them out of the way, because if not, they're going to sabotage the whole mission. And it reminds me of shout out to Makandao, about to him, and how he had a plan to get rid of them, because we knew we couldn't get any further if we had them, in our area or in our atmosphere or environment. And that's where I give thanks to divination, because there's a lot of people that's in that realm with that energy that, we got to kind of make sure we have all of our spidey senses on point to be able to pick up on that, and to be able to kind of keep them at bay, and get them from out of our space, because we're not going to let them knock down or stop no party. And shout out to Gil Scott Heron, because the revolution will be televised. It's televised right now.
And the key is one of the first things to do with Sambo is to be able to identify them. That's the first thing.
That part.
Because once you can identify them, there are multiple ways in which you can handle them. Because they depend on being able to influence you. And so the bottom line is, in the world that we're living in today, there's many different ways that you can handle it. But the key is to be able to identify them, to know the difference between the Uncle Tom and the Sambo. Be able to identify them. And when we create our organizations, we need to create our organizations the way in which science has created the atom. the atom with a nucleus that has the proton and the neutron and the electrons that circle. When you have an atom, let's say the most fundamental one, you have it's the JKLM rings that go around. There's 4 different rings that go around basically. And when you're dealing with the first ring, only 2 electrons can be on that ring. And the first one is hydrogen. That's the only atom that exists. And everything else comes by multiplying that hydrogen atom. When the hydrogen atom splits, it becomes helium. This is what they teach you in chemistry when you're dealing with the periodic table of elements. And then when you get lithium, which is number 3, it can't get on that first electron belt. It's kicked out into another one, and that one holds 8. Once you go to number 11, it can't go on the second ring. It gets kicked out to the third. The point that I'm making is when we create our organizations, we let the wrong people into the nucleus. Only the proton and the neutron deserves to be in the nucleus. Your nucleus could be your family. It could be people that you work with that are very close, that they will ride or die. They are ready, willing, and able. They are ready to live to fulfill their divine destiny. They are willing to kill in self-defense in order to do their own divine destiny. And they got to be able to die in order to fulfill their divine destiny. That's the people in the nucleus. Nobody gets in there. A lot of times somebody comes in, they do a lot of work. Talk about COINTELPRO. A lot of times they do a lot of work, may have a lot of money, and you let them in the nucleus. No, you never let them in the nucleus. At best, you're going to be in that first ring around the nucleus. But you ain't getting in to the nucleus. And then you might have other people that come that have a lot to contribute. But you ain't getting in that first shell. You're going to get into the next shell. Our problem is we let the wrong people into the nucleus of the atom. And science don't let that happen. Science don't care who you are, how important you are, because all the atoms have their place. But first of all, the electron will never get into the nucleus. Lithium will never get into the first ring. We let the wrong people too close. Follow science. Science will show you how to do it. They'll show you how to create your organizations. Yeah, you got money? You can contribute? Yeah, that's wonderful. But only certain people are going to be in that nucleus's meeting. Only certain people are going to be in the first ring with the nucleus. Only certain people are going to be in when you get into the second ring. Everybody don't belong there. Sometimes we let the wrong people in.
Yeah, that's real. It's funny because I was looking, I feel like I read that in one of your books. I was looking through Spirituality Before Religion. I wasn't sure where it was at, but I know this is another one. Shout out to African Creation Energy, because this book right breaks down like literally everything you're talking about with the periodic table from a scientific perspective, as well as, from the cultural perspective, they break it down. But I thought I saw that in some of your work as well too. I was trying to find it in Spirituality Before Religions, but I can't remember which piece that I saw them. But either way it goes, I definitely have studied that periodic table and study, some of the science behind it. And I feel like that's a powerful thing that we really have to be extremely, extremely, extremely vigilant, hyper vigilant, and disciplined with in regards to who we allow in our circles and who we allow in our space, because it only takes one, and that one can muck up the whole thing. It reminds me of I can't remember where I heard it. It was an interview one time. I think it was John Calipari, basketball coach. He was talking about the when you have a toxic player on your team. And he was like, how that can literally ruin the entire chemistry of the team. He was like, and so I don't want that with my team, because it's like the equivalent of having a 5-gallon drum of ice cream, and you put 1 scoop of poop, in that ice cream. And now who wants to eat out of the rest of the ice cream? Even though you got 5 gallons, that 1 scoop of poop can ruin the entire 5 gallons of ice cream, because like nobody wants to eat out of that. But that's what one toxic person or one Sambo or one, collaborator could do to any movement, to any organization, if
That's
you
right.
have them in your space.
That's right. And it's funny, that story that you just told, I tell that story as it relates to making cookies. You have this, and you've created such a beautiful mix of all the ingredients for a cookie.
Yep.
But then you take 1 drop of poison, and then you cook them cookies. Which cookie you gonna eat?
Yeah, I don't want that one with that poison. I know that. Oh, none of
But you don't. But you see, when you put 1 drop in a big basket or a big bowl, which cookie you willing to eat?
Yeah.
Once you drop that poison in there, they all are poison.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And we must be selfishly honest. When you have somebody that comes into a group and is causing trouble, you shut them down.
Oh, yeah.
We don't go that way here. This is not the purpose of the meeting.
Right.
And if you can't handle the flow, unask yourself from the premise.
Got to go.
You got to go.
Got to go.
No matter how much you can bring to the table. Because a lot of times they have a lot to offer. But these are the types of things that we have to start to do and begin to look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, and it's a lot to surveillance, to survey, because it's a lot of different moving parts, and I see a lot of different things that I see in a very positive light and perspective, but I also see a lot of areas that we got to work in, a lot of work to do, to work in. But so with that,
we all gonna get to the promised land, brother. Baby.
Everybody just ain't gonna make it.
That's the good news. The bad news, a lot of people ain't gonna make it because your priorities are off.
Mm-hmm.
I love you dearly, but maybe, like Erykah Badu say, maybe next lifetime.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Can't be carrying them bags, man. I don't want to be no bag man, a bag lady. No sir. Let me see. So I got a couple quick questions before we get into the main topic at hand, because look, we done had a whole doggone family reunion conversation.
Well, this is the warm-up, brother.
Listen, we ain't even took the uniforms off yet, man. We just started kind of like jogging around the court with the layup line. We ain't even...
That's right. Getting ready.
We ain't even took the warm-ups off yet, man. We already dropped some heat. But listen, I should say you dropped the heat. But with that, real quick, I remember a video I saw years ago, and I don't know if I ever asked you this question, but it came to my mind earlier, and I wrote it down in my notes. But what is the significance of us when we talk about, especially when it comes in regards to teaching our youth, but just when it comes to education as a whole, what is the significance of us learning in the elements of nature? Because I remember seeing you on another interview years ago, and you were talking about how significant it is for us to learn in the elements of nature, like being, learning, being taught in education in the sun, like with the sun beaming on us, or with our feet being grounded in sand or in the grass, or, just connecting with Mother Nature in the aspects of nature, but kind of combining that with education. What is the significance of that? Because there's a lot of different solar flares, and I see this report yesterday with this, all these different elements with the Schumann resonance raising and the planet Earth, you know, her vibration and frequencies rising, the hertz and all that stuff. So what is the mothership connection to us being taught in the elements of nature versus in the classroom, like how they do it here in the Western culture of civilization?
And keep in mind, another environment that is very helpful in learning is the night sky. Because daytime you have sun power. But remember, the sun is a star.
Yeah.
So that at nighttime, the stars are sending energy to you also. But the bottom line is, first and foremost, when we were amongst ourselves, the only thing that we ever went indoors for was to sleep. That's the only reason that a house exists, to tell you the truth. Houses are like caves to keep you away from the cold and from the external environment. But you can see that my backdrop is the Ituri forest. I'm talking about the backdrop behind me right now. I'm in the forest. And when folk want to get into things, I'm taking you back to the forest in nature. A lot of people have different backgrounds.
Yeah.
And some of them are quite nice, very beautiful. But mine is, I'm taking you back to nature. I'm taking you back to the first teacher. We learned how to speak through nature. And the Neteru and the Orishas all spoke to us. And we saw how they spoke to each other. And out of that example, we started speaking to each other. And that is why the first language, the click language, sounds like nature's language. The click of Southern Africa, the Khoisan people, the Twa and Mbuti people. They spoke a click. If you want to know what click sounds like, download a song by Miriam Makeba called Pata Pata. Or if you want, she even did a click song from South Africa. You'll hear the clicks. That's the original language. And so it becomes important to understand that nature teaches you everything that you need to know. So when you're in the presence of nature, which is outdoors, you learn about nature. When you're underneath the baobab tree or the yegba tree of Ethiopia, that's where we had our meetings. And the weather was very beneficial to being able to receive that. And so nature was and is our first and only teacher. And then out of that, we began to develop different ways of expanding our consciousness and our learning by looking to nature. If you ain't feeling good, what does a dog do?
Eat grass.
Eat grass, drink water, and rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
People say you feed a cold. No, you don't feed a cold. Because when you feed a cold, your entire immune system has to digest that food. The very food that's going to heal you, the very energy that's going to heal you, is the energy you're using to digest your food. You bring in the liquids that you need, the herbs that you need, you drink the water, and you rest. And your system will heal you. When the last time you heard your dog say, "Hey man, can you take me to the veterinarian? I ain't feeling good, man. I got a headache."
Yeah.
Dog just look for water, eats the grass. For us, it would be herbs. And they just lay down and rest. And nature will heal them.
Yeah. Now that's real. And you know, it's funny because when you started talking about your backdrop, the first thing I thought about was Ogun. Because you know, Ogun lives in the forest. Ogun, Ochosi, you know, and then and to take it several layers or levels even deeper, when it comes to the Yoruba or Ifa tradition, that's everything starts with nature, and it starts with the Orisha of the forest, or of the herbs and of healing is Osayan. You know, Sion is the Orisha who is responsible for the herbs and who's responsible for the vegetation and who's responsible for the healing with the herbs and vegetation. So whenever we're doing any initiatory or really any ritual work, most of it starts with the herbs. We have to create what we call omiero to consecrate, you know what I'm saying, and to really bless and to bring about the healing of whatever it is that we're doing when it comes to the elements of ritual. So it's like nature is always and always and forever like always going to be a part of what everything we do.
That's
everything.
it.
Yes, sir.
That is the key.
Mm.
And the further they can take you away from nature, the further from your healing that you're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the way, all of the medicines that you take when you go to the pharmacy, all the medicines that you take came from the farm. That's where the word came from. They just changed the F to PH.
That's deep though. Could you say that again for the people in the back? Because look,
think about it.
Yeah.
Where do you go to get your healing medicines? You go to the pharmacy, which is the farm. And who do you go to and ask for your medicines? You ask the pharmacist or the farmer. All they did was they chemicalized the natural medicine of the leaf, of the liquid, the mixtures of the leaves and the liquid. And then they gave it back to you in cough medicine or in pills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that's deep.
So they mess with you by changing the F to the PH.
Yeah. It's kind of like how they took, you know, the mother out of their tradition with their Holy Trinity. They took her out of there and replaced her with some fairy tale Holy Ghost. But the way we know it is Asar, Asar, like we got, you know, it's the Holy Trinity of man, woman, and child. but they put the woman out and put that so-called Holy Ghost in.
And if I take you back to Shabaka stone, you're dealing with Nun, Ptah, and Atum. You're dealing with matter, energy, and creative intelligence.
Yes, sir.
And that in and of itself is in both the male and the female energy. So the unity of three, the tri-unity. You take the U out of tri-unity and you have Trinity. And in that unity of three, see, it's the unity of the three. The same way you have father, mother, and child. Okay. I grew up Roman Catholic. Okay. And back in the day, I spoke Latin better than the priest did. Okay. Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. In nomine Padre, e Filio, e Spiritu Sancto. Okay. I spoke Latin better than the priest did. In fact, when I used to serve mass as an altar boy, a lot of the priests wanted me to go there so in case they forgot something in their prayers, I could remind them. I could perform mass when I was an altar boy. I sang the Gregorian chant. And the only thing the Gregorian chant is in a church is the actual manipulation of the chords of your voice that our ancestors, Cushites, did in the temples that they built, because they would put a special type of oil on the walls. And as they would sing, it wasn't so much a song, it was just moving from place to place, and there were very few consonants and mainly vowels, and it was and they would take you certain, and those sounds would bounce off the wall. And that would bring consciousness. That's why sisters be breaking down into speaking tongues.
Yeah.
And what do they say? Gut them? They say it's the Holy Ghost.
Yeah.
That's the African Holy Ghost and took you and just wrapped around your mind, and then you start speaking in language, but that's a cosmic language. When you talked about Schumann's resonance.
Yes, sir.
when you talked about the cosmic frequency
Yeah.
that we get on, even when we pronounce the
Yep.
we're moving towards a resonance that is creating a vibration, and that vibration is uniting with the frequency, and it takes you places that Star Trek says no one has gone before. But you got to be in it to win it. So as long as they can keep you afraid of that, and yet they're doing it themselves in the Gregorian chant.
Oh.
That's like this thing here, like you talk about betting. Now they
Yeah.
got legal betting and illegal betting, just
Right.
like they had the legal numbers and the illegal numbers.
Marijuana.
That's
I mean,
the same exact thing.
they had to figure out how they can get their little grubby hands in there and monetize it somehow, somewhere before they was able, you know what I'm saying? Like to try
That's right. And you see, that's what the Romans did to the Greeks. Because the Greeks, when they sat at the feet of the Cushites and they learned the science and the arts, our Cushite, and see, this is what education, this is what I want to do in education when I go on tour. I want to talk to people about this concept, because this is what is plaguing the boards of education around the world today, is that you had what was known as the Gnostic, Gnostic, the Gnostic. The Gnostic is the teacher. The Gnostic, he or she, is the practitioner. And then you had what's known as the theist. These are Greek words, by the way, but the African words. Gnothi. Gnothi is knowledge and wisdom, your practitioner. The theist was the one that did the research and the study, developed the Meduneter, or the Meroitic script of the Cushites, or any other language that they created. The theist would give the research to the Gnostic. The Gnostic would teach this information to the community, to the children. They would get feedback as to what they taught. The Gnostic would go to the theist and tell the theist what they had learned, and the theist would revise their information. This is where theory comes from. In fact, this is where God comes from, theo. And then in Latin, Deo. And so you have this concept of the Gnostic and the theist. And so when the Romans came in and enslaved the Greeks to teach them, once the Romans learned what the Greeks never really did understand, so this is bad information secondhand, but what they did was to become, now keep in mind about the numbers, the legal ones and the illegal ones. Remember marijuana, legal and illegal. Now remember drugs. Everybody talking about how they need programs to get people off drugs, but when they put black folk on drugs, their remedy was prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But now what the Romans did, keep that in mind in terms of something that was right, that they changed for their own benefit. What they did to the Gnostic of the Greeks and the theist of the Greeks, the practitioner and the theist or the theoretician, is that they forbid anybody to study what the Greeks had and made what the Romans did right. And all they did was add an A to Gnostic and an A to the theist. And they created the agnostic and the atheist. And they forbid them from studying with their original teachers, who studied with the original Africans that gave them the concept of separating the practitioner from the theoretician. And that's what's hurting our schools. In our schools, we have a principal and we have an assistant principal. I've been an assistant principal. And normally what the assistant principal is the curriculum developer. The curriculum developer really is the theist, because he's dealing with what the children will learn. The principal is really the agnostic or the administrator. The problem with that is that it should be two different departments. The one that teaches, the one that practices the teaching, never theorizes. And the theoretician never administers. Because what you teach is as important as the administration of teaching it. So think about that. The AP, the assistant principal, doesn't have the power that the principal has. So something could be very important to do, but the principal could say, no, I don't think I want to do that. That could not happen in Africa, because the theoreticians were in their department and the Gnostics were in their department, and they worked together. But because they knocked that department down of what to teach to give it to an assistant principal, the principal can override the assistant principal. That's why I became a staff developer and a curriculum developer, because it's that cornerstone that I came to realize what the problem was.
Wow.
And so what we teach becomes so important. And this is why I wrote the 5 books. My first book was William Leo Hansberry. I paid respect and homage to the first Black man that created an African curriculum, William Leo Hansberry. This is my intellectual libation, honoring William Leo Hansberry. 1923, he developed 3 classes in African history. I did 2 papers on him, 2 master's degrees. And in those 2 master's degrees, what I did is I combined them both, put them in place, and that's the book. The book I wanted to write was the 3rd book, Shabaka Stone. That's the book I wanted to write. But I knew that this book was going to introduce concepts that the community may not have been aware of. So I wrote a book that would get people ready for Shabaka Stone, and that was Spirituality Before Religions. That book breaks down the entire philosophy of the Kushites and develops an understanding of what our ancestors were talking about when they talked about cosmology. I look at the Memphite theology, the pyramid text, the coffin text, the book of the coming forth today by night, the Aten text, and Shabaka Stone. Because that Shabaka Stone piece in Spirituality Before Religions is going to lead to the 3rd book, which is Shabaka Stone. Shabaka Stone talks about how the universe came into existence according to our ancestors.
Yeah.
It talks about how we came into existence. However, I needed to get more definitive on that. And so what I did is I wrote my 4th book, which is Carbon Before Melanin.
And see, I got that one on ebook. I think, ebook on that one.
Carbon Before Melanin. I met Dr. Sebi back in 1988. And I invited him to one of my presentations on melanin, and he came. And I didn't get to speak to him that day, but when I went back to the institute, the Herbal Institute, and he was there, I said, Dr. Sebi, what did you think about my presentation on melanin? He said, I found it very interesting. But Booker T, it was carbon before melanin. And so what I did is I did research on carbon. And I came to realize why Dr. Sebi said that. We get caught up in melanin, which has its place, but that's a molecule. But it's the molecule that is created by the carbon atom. And once you learn that, then the subtitle of Carbon Before Melanin is Creators on Earth. It's a double entendre, double meaning.
Yeah.
I have a star between the R and the S of creators. So it's a contraction. Creator is on Earth. And then it's plural. We, creators, are on Earth. I'm telling a story. Every one of my books is connected. And then my fifth and final book, Who Were the Moors Before the Moors? Subtitled, Me a Moor. We tend to get very caught up in the Moors of 711 to 1492, which has its place. It has its place. It's important to know who the Moors were. When Tariq and his North Africans, melanated people, went into Spain and Portugal. One called that then, but went in. And then from there, they spread out. Because remember, after the Roman Empire fell, Europe was in dark ages. And so what they decided to do was to create a pre-expected strike into Spain before the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths came into North Africa. Because they had remembered them from the Punic Wars. And they said, they ain't coming back in here. So they got into a pre-strike in July of 711 and conquered Spain and Portugal, went into France, went into Europe, Germany, and they brought their culture with them. First thing they brought was soap. So they say, you people are funky. You need to wash your funky selves. That's the first. And then after they did that, they brought in a liquid they call alcohol, spiritual waters.
Alcohol.
Because they said after you wash your funky self, you got to disinfect your funky self. Today we call it alcohol. And then they brought in food, strawberries, Valencia orange, olives, grapes. And so it became important that we understand that, yes, 711, 1492 was very important. But who were the Moors before that? Because you see, just like in Egypt, okay, they gave me some heat when I was in Egypt in 2024. Because I was teaching the truth about who built the pyramids. So we went through certain situations, but that's a side story. But you see, the people that are in Egypt today are a much later migration. They were not there to build the pyramids or the temples. Their hands didn't touch it. And I could show you evidence as to why that couldn't be. Because if you look at the mosques in Egypt, there's a road that you take, like a main road, particularly when you're going to the airport in Egypt. And it's lit by mosques. Beautiful, well-lit buildings. You can't go in there with your shoes on. You got to go in there with special dress. You can't smoke nowhere near there. You have to go in with the respect of those mosques. But when you go to the pyramids and the temples, there's cigarette butts on the floor. There's garbage all around. If you built those temples, you would respect them. I know how to respect your mosque, and rightfully so. That's your holy building. But the temples ain't your holy building because you ain't built them. You're pimping them off, but you didn't build them. That's how you get people to come to Egypt to look at those temples and look at the pyramids, and you tell them all those big stories. The money you make, then you build those beautiful mosques. But you don't respect the temples. You don't respect the pyramids. But they can claim it because they're there now. The same thing is true when it comes to the Moors. So what I did is I blocked you. And this book is my block. I got a chapter in here that shows you the development of African people coming from Central and Southern Africa and migrating across the continent, including West Africa. I have a chapter in here that talks about the African origins of not only the Olympics, but the very word Olympics comes from Nigeria. Olu.
Dumare.
Look at how many words you have in Yoruba and Igbo, and even a touch of Hausa Fulani in North that has Olu, Oli.
That's deep.
And that's where the word Olympics came from, because Olu in Yoruba gives the impression of a mountain. That's where they got Mount Olympus from.
That is deep.
I got the evidence in the book.
I remember the first time you told me that. Yeah, I remember the first time you mentioned that to me. And you know what? And at the time, I was so blown away by that. But then now that I think about it in hindsight, when you talk about Oludumare, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now we talk about, we can go into the depths of the ocean. Olukun. You know, like what Lukumi. Like, it's so many different aspects and variables, and you know, like, just, man, that's deep.
Absolutely.
That's real deep.
And you see, the sports in Olympics started through military training. So what they would do is one community, one village would compete with another village. And in competing, they would be perfecting their military science. Think of what you're looking at when you look at the Olympics. You got the javelin, which is the sphere.
Yep.
You have the discus and the shot put, which is the rocks that we threw at each other. Wrestling, running, swimming.
Yeah.
Those are all military sports.
Yeah.
When you at the high jump, the jump that you do with the stick where you put it and you jump over.
Yep. I forgot what they call that, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, when you got to clear the high bar.
High bar. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you have gymnastics, which is basic calisthenics.
Yeah.
Jumping over, flipping over. You have the horse. See, my background, I was recruited for gymnastics. And my two sports that I participated was the rings and the pommel horse. You see a lot of African folk do a lot of tricks on horses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's where the horse came from, the flipping around and the moving around. When somebody's throwing a spear at you, you move around the horse. You see, think of the Olympics and all of the activities in the Olympics. And what you're looking at is military science. I have a chapter on the African origins of the Olympics. I talk about the fact everybody talks about the Sahara was once a very grassland, beautiful. I have a picture of what the Sahara looked like before it became a desert and what happened after it became a desert.
Mm.
And I tell you I show you the Taman Rasset River, which was what made it the vegetables used to grow. You could grow a lot of food. You had underneath the Sahara, there are fish bones, there's crocodile bones, there's hippopotami bones.
Yeah.
And it all exits out of a place called Cape Timorous, which is on the coast of southern Mauritania in West Africa.
Mm.
But then out of that came the Africans that once the desert became a desert, then you had Africans that moved north and you had Africans that moved south. The Africans that moved north would become the Moors that went into Spain and Portugal in 711. But the ones that went south were the ones that created what's known as DARS, D-A-R-S, settlements. Dartigit, Dartangent, okay? There's 4 settlements. And around 2500 BC, they all united and became what we call Ouagadougou. And Ouagadougou became what we call ancient Ghana. See, Ghana is not the name. Ghana is the name of the king. They called the country by the king's name.
Mm.
It's like if somebody came to the United States and said, I just went to president.
Listen. Shout out to Cat Williams because the people or whoever that follows that, whatever they call the president, he said he was on a call with the president of Puerto Rico and the president of, I think, was it New Mexico or something like that. I saw that clip from Cat. I was like, boy, I know Cat had a field day with this clown, man. He said,
wow.
He was on the phone with the president of Puerto Rico, and I think it was New Mexico. I said, boy, well, I don't know what y'all gonna do with y'all leader, boy, but y'all better do something with
it. It's quite something else, man.
Oh, man.
And you see Ouagadougou would become what is called the Kingdom of Ghana, that became Mali, that became Songhai. When I'm doing Mali, I have a very special segment, a chapter that I branch off of the Malinke Empire, and I deal with the Dogon.
Mm.
And I deal with the geography, the history, the astronomy of the Dogon people. I show you the Sirius star system.
Mm.
And I tell you the story of how they were able to see something, be aware of Sirius B, where we didn't even see it until 1971.
Mm-mm.
And they could track it. They tracked it on the ground, in the dirt. They tracked that Sirius that would go around every 50 years, but they celebrated it every 60 years.
And that was the Sigi ceremony with the Kanaga mask that we spoke about?
That is it.
Okay.
That is it. That's the Sigi ceremony. Because the Dogon were Moors. And you see, what I do in the book is every time I don't say African, I call everybody Moors, because I want us to understand who the Moors were. The Moors are African. You are a Moor. I am a Moor. My mother was a Moor. My grandmother was a Moor. Moor is a term that was used to describe people. In the very beginning, I say, you can call Moor, you can call it African, you can call it black, you can call it Negro, you can call it Negus, you can even call it a Nick. Not gonna say it, but you can even say that. They're all the same person. So let's get over this segmentation of ourselves, breaking us up into compartments. Who were the Moors before the Moors? Subtitle is Me a Moor. I'm a Moor. You're a Moor. If you black, you a Moor. I have a segment in the book where I deal with Etruria, which is what we today call Italy. And the people of this area were known as the Etruscans. The two big islands off the coast of Italy, Sardinia and Corsica, were Moorish islands, black people. The capital of major city in Etruria was called Rumay, Rumay. That's where the word Rome came from. Come on, family, we got to wake up now.
Yeah. Listen, and I don't want to cut you off, but I always take my notes, but I try to pick my spots to double dutch real quick. So when did the word Nagas come into this whole, vernacular we're speaking about? Because if I'm not mistaken, Nagas or Nagas, right? Negus, or some might spell it Nagas. Either way it goes. Can you kind of break down the significance of that word? And then to me, because to me, based off of what I've learned about that story, it's kind of like how they ended up making Egypt out of Kemet because they couldn't pronounce the words phonetically properly, right? So is that how the word nigger came about, from Nagas or Negas? How did that all tie into what we're talking about now?
There's a section in the book where I talk about the origins of the N-word. Pianki put it together. There's a brother named Pianki that did a phenomenal piece on that, and I cite his work. The origins of that word. But first, you also have to understand the origin of the French language. And you have to understand how the Spanish language did not really have its existence until while the Moors were in Spain. The language itself, the Latin language, comes out of the Greek language. The alphabet in Latin is the Greek alphabet. The Greek alphabet is a Kushite alphabet. So even when we're speaking English, English is not a language. Spanish is not a language. French is not a language. German is not a language. It's a dialect. Because to be a language, you have to have an alphabet, symbols that represent that specific language. Spanish uses Greek script. The word for blue, azul, azul. That's Greek script. That's not even Roman script. Roman script is Greek script. Greek script is African script. Now you have English. Same alphabet. Azul, azul, Spanish. Bleu. Okay, bleu. For us, it's blue, blue. Same letters, same symbols. That's why it's not a language, it's a dialect. And so I wanted to put that in place in order to help us understand the concept of the sound. See, remember, nature taught us the letters that we have created are only symbols in order for us to pronounce the sounds. That's called phonetics, or the teaching of phonics, sounds. Inger, the sound inger has a vibration to it. When you have the sound of inger, that is a spiritual, and that's why N follows M. Because M is the only sound we make where our mouth must be totally closed. This is the first sound a baby make when he come out the womb, because he's going to suckle at mother's breast, and in order to suck, he has to That's the sound you make. You're doing it now.
Yeah.
What sound do you make when you get an idea?
Mm.
What sound do you make when you taste something that's good? Okay.
Mm.
What sound do you make when you don't believe something? Mm-mm.
Mm. Mm.
Okay. Now, why is that sound so important? Because that's represented by the owl. In Medu Neter, the owl is the letter M.
You taking it deep. Look, you beat me to it because I promised the very next question I had for you was, okay, so where? Because we're talking about these M's and and all that. This is a big mama's house. Everybody knows that. But when we talk about language, and I love how you segmented into that, we talk about the Medu Neter. The Medu Neter is a language that uses images to communicate, you know, a whole nother dimension of communication. I love the fact that how does it go? Because you got a lineup where you say, I think it's what a picture's worth 1,000 words. And how does that go? I know
A picture is worth 1,000 words, and a symbol is worth 1,000 pictures.
Sure. That's deep.
Now look at the owl.
Yep.
Remember I told you that Roman had the Greek and the Greek had the African? Look inside an owl. Look at the horns. Okay.
Yeah.
Look inside the breastplate of the owl. Look inside of his face. So what African said is, okay, every time I want to make the sound of an M, I'm not going to draw the owl. That's going to take a lot of time. So if I take a symbol out of the owl, that will become the symbol. That's where the letter M came from. Wow. Inside the owl. But why an owl? You know, an owl is said to be wise.
Oh, very wise.
But an owl is not very wise. It's not the wisest of the birds. But why is an owl? Why? Think of what an owl does. First, the owl can turn its head around close to 360 degrees, 359.9 degrees. Owl can turn its head around its body, which is a symbol of being able to see something from all angles.
Yes. Hawks too. Hawks can do that too.
Okay. Think in terms of the fact that an owl is a nocturnal animal and it can see in the dark. So imagine having the gift of being able to take wisdom out of ignorance, being able to see truth in the darkness of the lie. So the owl came to be representative of owl, but hold on now, because now I got to take you to the next level. Because if you're making the sound when you make that sound and your mouth is totally closed, there's a vibration in your brain. Search for where that's vibrating. Along with the vibration in your mouth, you also have a vibration inside your brain. Feel for where you feel that. Sometime when you're on your own and you want to practice that. Practice. That's where you get the word in meditation. That's where when grandma got something she thinking about, she trying to get an answer to, what does she do? She hums. Where that tickle is in your brain, in the Grand Lodge of Luxor, they built a room that was called, they called it the Shittite Infant. In Shabaka Stone, I've got a chapter on Shittite Infant. SHTYTNTFND. Shittite Infant. That's known as the sacred sanctuary. You have 6 senses, you don't have 5. Thinking is a sense. Sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, thinking. Your olfactory bulb in your brain back here is responsible for smell. It's connected to your nose. Very sensitive area. It's called the olfactory bulb. Right behind your olfactory bulb, you have the Shittite infant. The Shittite infant, when you go, and you're meditating, all of your six senses are manifested right in that area. That area is deeply steeped in the melanin molecule in your brain that activates within what is called your cerebrospinal fluid. When that vibrates, when that Shittite infant vibrates, it's let you see what you don't necessarily see, smell what you don't necessarily smell, taste what's not in your mouth, hear what nobody said, feel what nobody touched, and think what nobody thought. Our ancestors taught this thousands of years ago, and they built a temple dedicated to the letter M. Okay, but now here's where I wanted to go with this. Leads to ga. Ga. That's why N follows M. Inger. And when the Romans came during the Punic times and asked the Africans, who are you? They said, Negus, Negusti. I'm Inger. I'm the leader. I'm the God. I'm the creator. I'm all that's good. I am Negus Negusti, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jah Rastafari. Okay, this is where all of this is coming from. And so the Romans, not having that word in their vocabulary, put that word in their vocabulary, and it became Niger, Nigro. Throughout all of the Vulgar Latin or Vulgate Latin, French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian. In the Spanish language, where the Moors were, it became negro. Negro, meaning black.
Mm-hmm.
When they overturned the Moors in January of 1492, took their wealth, they brought them to this hemisphere with Cristobal Colon because he already knew that there was land here.
Mm-hmm.
And so they brought these Africans there, and they were called Negro, meaning black. When the British started to enslave Africans, they then took that Negro and they dehumanized it. And that's where the word nigger comes from. You know, if you go on YouTube, you'll see, I used to have classes with my college students, and I would teach them the origins of this word.
Yeah.
And I told them, I am not telling you to use it. I'm not telling you not to use it. What I'm telling you is know the history of it.
That part.
And I always tell I always begin my teaching the young people about this word nigger because it's a good word. It was dirtied by dirty people. My daddy used to always say, you may not be trash, but if you put your hand in the trash can, you're going to smell like it. I tell the story about this symbol, this sacred symbol. A woman by the name of Helene Blavatsky that had gone into India and studied the esoteric arts that the Africans had brought, but that's a side story.
The Aryan
Helene
symbol.
Blavatsky returned back to Europe. She was a Russian. She returned back to Europe and she shared this symbol of the balance, the harmony, the yin, the yang. And there was a military man that was impressed with Egypt. And he was impressed with what Helene Blavatsky had told them. And so he took this symbol and he emblazoned it on flags, on shirts, on jackets. This beautiful symbol of balance and harmony. And he did very bad things to people. And that symbol emblazoned on everything became the symbol for the horror that people experienced. So that even if I were to go into a classroom and draw this symbol, this beautiful, meaningful symbol, there would be people in the room that would have a heart attack because it would trigger what a dirty man did with a beautiful symbol.
Yeah.
And so when I tell that story, everybody understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time for me to teach you about a beautiful word that was dirtied by dirty people. And so that if you walk into a room and tell a group of elders, what y'all niggas doing up in here? They'd have a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because to them, they watch people die with that word.
Yeah.
They watch people raped with that word.
Yep.
They watch people abused with that word. So that word that was once beautiful now becomes ugly. So whether you want to use the word or not is your business.
Mm-hmm.
I know the social context of it coming from my generation. I know what that word meant to us.
Mm-hmm.
But even Dick Gregory said, I'm going to use that word so much, I'm going to write a book and I'm going to title it nigger. Just so it won't bother you no more. And guess what? It didn't work on my generation, but it certainly worked on the younger generation.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I love that nigger.
Yeah.
That is my nigger.
Yeah.
They're not using that word in a
Yeah.
negative way. They're using it like that's my God.
Yeah.
That's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's my buddy.
Yeah.
That's my best.
Yeah.
So actually, what the younger generation is doing, because by the time their generation is there and the older generation is no longer here, that word is going to be returned back to its original meaning.
Yeah, taking the power away from it, or
That's
taking the negative, conditioning or connotation away from it.
That's it. And by the way, white people say, "Well, can I use it?" No, you can't.
Mm-mm.
No, you can't use that word. They say, "Well, you use it."
Don't worry about that.
I said, but that's not the point. I said, look, let me tell you something. Some of the funniest jokes I've ever heard told about Jews, a Jewish person told. But if I told that joke, nobody would laugh. I've heard stories about Italian people, funny jokes. And an Italian is the one that told the joke. But if I told that joke, it wouldn't be funny. Because when you're within the group, the jokes you make of yourself is self-reflective of the group itself. But when someone outside the culture tells that joke, it's a put down. So just because a Jewish person told a joke that was funny, I am not going out into a group of people and tell a joke. He told a joke. Why can't I tell that joke?
Right.
Because it wouldn't be funny.
Right.
The same thing with people of Italian descent or Polish descent. Some jokes I heard about Polish people. Every culture group has its put downs.
Mm-hmm.
So when people say, can I use it? No, you can't. There are so many other jokes you can tell. That's not a joke to come out your mouth.
Mm-mm.
I can tell the joke if I want to.
Yeah.
I can use the word if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't.
Please
for the
don't.
reason why I just told you.
Mm-hmm.
And so to respond back to Nagas, but look at the words Angola, Unga, Angola.
Yeah.
Look at Mandingo, Ungo, Ingo. Okay. Niger, Nigeria, Ungar. It's the sound.
Yeah.
It's the sound that is the frequency that creates the vibration that puts you into Schumann's resonance, the cosmic experience. Ngr. M is the 13th letter. N is the 14th letter. And there's 26 altogether. So it's right in the middle.
Mm.
Family, it's us.
Mm.
We got to know who we are. And you have to understand they don't hate you.
Mm.
They fear you. Because when you get this knowledge and you understand how to use it, power isn't something you have. Power is something that you do.
Mm.
In Who Were the Moors Before the Moors, I have a section where I honor 3 great people that we should know. I call them the Moors of today. The first one is the Honorable Noble Drew Ali, who developed the Moorish Science Temple. The second person that you should know, who is a Moor of Moors, is Sister Clara Muhammad, the wife of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. She is the mother of homeschoolers. She started homeschooling.
Mm.
She also kept the Nation of Islam in place when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in prison.
Mm.
She was the backbone of the Nation of Islam. And she knew that a woman in that day would not be able to manage it as a leader. So she kept him the leader, but she ran things. Like most sisters.
I was just about to say, that's not like it sounds about right about how it is in all in all spaces and places, as far as I know. Yeah.
And then the third person that I honored as a Moor is Minister Clarence 13X, also known as Father Allah.
Mm-hmm.
The beginnings of the nations of gods and earth.
Mm.
You gotta know those individuals.
Yeah.
I've got over 300. I've got over 300 quotes. To be exact, no, I have 261. 261, and I've got a list of books to back up what I say. It's important, family. I have a chapter in here that deals with the hands that built the pyramids, built the White House. That's why they're tearing the White House down now. Because they say, we know black people built it, so we're going to tear it down and we're going to rebuild it. So y'all can't say that. Okay, now next thing is they're going to do the Capitol, because on top of the Capitol, they have a man on top of the Capitol with a liberty cap. That's a black man on top of the Capitol building.
Is that Benjamin Banneker?
No,
Who's that?
Benjamin Banneker is the brother that outlined.
He's the architect of it.
When they were building the capital of the United States, what they did was that they brought in Benjamin Banneker, and see, that's how you know a black person developed, okay? Because Pierre L'Enfant was the other one, but Pierre L'Enfant was not he was not an astronomer.
Mm.
The 10-mile radius, the 10-mile rectangle of what we call Washington, D.C., was cut away from a part of Maryland that was called Columbia. That's why it's Washington, D.C., District of Columbia, because Washington, D.C. really is part of Maryland. But it was cut out, and it's connecting Maryland to Virginia. Those are the two areas that you have there. The Capitol building is the most important building in Washington. That's why when you write to somebody or when you're going someplace in D.C., you always have to know, is it northeast, southeast, northwest, or now northeast? Because the Capitol is a rotund pyramid. And it's according to where you are, according to the Capitol, that determines if you're northeast of the Capitol, northwest of the Capitol, southeast of the Capitol, or southwest of the Capitol. Because there's a 9th Street northeast, 9th Street southeast, 9th Street northwest, 9th Street northeast. But it's according to where you are to the Capitol that decides where your address is. You couldn't just write 9th Street, Washington, D.C., even the zip code. You'd have to say Well, I mean, the zip code would be a little bit more exact, but you'd have to say, is it northeast or southeast or whatever? Because the Capitol is a rotund. And when the Capitol was built, Lincoln's Memorial was already in existence. The Supreme Court building, built by black folk, enslaved, was already there. The Jefferson Memorial was already there. All of that stuff was already there. Not the Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, even the Smithsonian. All of those buildings were already planned out. It just took time to build them. And it was Benjamin Banneker that did it. Because Benjamin Banneker has ancestors from the Dogon. And I talk about it in the book with Charles Saremi, who wrote a book on Dogon ancestors of Benjamin Banneker. Whoever built DC had to be an astronomer. Because when I was in Egypt in 24, it's laid out in Karnak Temple. Same thing. That same grasslands, everything is the same. Because the signers of the independence, the signers of the Constitution were the great majority of them were Freemasons. Although it wasn't Freemason, it was Freemason. P-H-R-E, Mason, which means son of light.
Yeah, that's deep. Now, so let me ask you this, Professor Kaba. When it comes to, and we haven't had a lot of conversation and rhetoric about it on the channel recently, but over like maybe 4 or 5 months ago or so, we was having conversations where, there was this thing about the dirty Moors versus, the Moors, because there are two sets of Moors, as far as where my little research has brought me. But I know you've probably done a lot more extensive research in regards to that. So when it comes to that conversation, can you kind of share with us who, or is that something that you're willing to go into in regards to like who the dirty Moors were versus who the actual Moors were? Because were there two different, I would say types, or two different kind of, I guess, paths of Moors that were, because some of them clearly was doing some mucking up some things, but then we also had the ones who did, I feel like, righteous work, like your Noble Drew Ali's and brothers like that.
Well, I tend, I think we create titles and things. There was just the Moors.
Gotcha.
There were some Moors that did the right thing, and there were Moors that did not do the right thing.
Right. I got you.
Just like there's some black people walking the earth today.
Yeah.
Some of them do the right thing.
Yeah.
Some of them don't do the right thing.
Yeah.
So if the word dirty is being used to emphasize a negative aspects of somebody, I understand that. But to me, Moors were Moors. There's only one Moor.
Gotcha.
And then according to how they conducted themselves, basically deals with who they are on the planet. Just like we have people today.
Yeah.
Foundational Black Americans, some do the right thing, some don't. We have Jamaican people. Some do the right thing, some people don't.
Yeah.
You can go in every culture.
Yeah.
And so, Moors really taught Europeans how to enslave black people. You see, black people don't have slavery. And a lot of people got twisted on me like that when I told them that. First of all, slavery to the European. Slavery was a form of enslaving somebody. The word slave comes from Slav, Yugoslav, Czechoslovakian. Okay. Remember when the Ukrainian war was first breaking out with Russia? The motto was Slave Ukraini, which means honor Ukraine. Slav means honor. Slavia means people of honor. So what Europeans did under the feudal system was when they captured these Slavic people, they used their names, just like nigger. They used that name to enslave them and make it less than. So they used the word slave. It was not a form. Europeans have always had a form of forcing people to do something against their will. And according to them, they made it laws. What Africans did, they had servants. Some of them were mistreated, true. But in Moorish, to the African, you were a human being. If you came to a point of stature, you could get yourself out of it by buying your way out of it, being enslaved or something like that. And the third aspect of Moorish servitude was that your children were born free. That's not what Europeans did. They created an institution and they created laws where your skin color, by law, dehumanized you. 2, no matter, you're always a slave. There were exceptions, but even free Negroes could be put back into enslavement. And third, your children born to you were born enslaved. So when Africans brought this servitude, this organized servitude, and the Europeans had unorganized slavery, what the European did was took the formality of the African servitude and superimposed it over the unorganized slavery and created an institution and created laws. And even to this day, they still live like that. You know, you hear people talk about fascism, Nazism, oligarchyism. Look to the granddaddy of the system. It's called feudalism. 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 Feudalism gave birth to Nazism, fascism, oligarchyism. And what does it mean? 2 words I'm going to give you. This is what it means. Few rule. Few rule. Few rule. That's the system they put in place. You can call it whatever you want. Look at America. Who rules in America? Do the people rule? Democratia. It means people power. Democratia means people power. Republica, it means for the people. Does America reflect that? Think about it. It's just the way it is. Here's another thing. When I taught, because I was social studies, and I developed curriculum for 35 schools as it relates to social studies. And basically, it was broken down into 5 subjects: geography, history, politics, economics, and social. I used to create a box. And then in the box, I would create a square. And I would put politics on one side and economics on the other. In politics, you have a democracy and you have communism. In economics, you have capitalism and you have socialism. Russia is not a socialistic state economically. It's capitalist because few rule. China is not socialist because few rule. America is capitalist because few rule. America, Russia, and China, same thing. Look at how they set their government up. Don't believe me. Look at how the governments are set up. So now we have a mayor who is talking about democratic socialism. Democratic is politics, socialism is economics.
Mm.
America, if you're rich, you got the power.
Mm.
What democratic socialism, one of the most perfect forms of democratic socialism was when Haiti developed their economic system.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Because the people had the land.
Yep.
The people had the wealth. The reason why they are making a monstrosity out of democratic socialism is because they know that in democratic socialism, there ain't no place on the planet for billionaires and trillionaires. Because you're going to give up the funk. You're going to give up some of the cheddar that's on your cheese. There's no reason why one person should have $1 trillion and babies go hungry. People have no home. There is no safety. You don't have medical care. That's not political. That's human. What type of human are you?
They're not.
That you could see children hungry. You could take away benefits from them. And again, being in the system and being in the schools, I saw children come to breakfast. I questioned what they ate, but they could at least eat something.
Right.
For lunch. You know who started that program? The feeding program?
Black Panthers, right?
That's right. The Black Panther Party started that. You know who started the public school system? The Freedmen's Bureau of Black participants that pooled their money in church to teach the children during the week. That's where the public school system was based its foundations of collecting public monies and creating a school system. It's us. It's us. We really don't know how great we are.
Yeah.
And so, who's a more? Me a more. Who's a more? You a more. This is your legacy. This is your ancestry. This is the 5th book in my 5-part series that went from carbon, which is the chemistry of life of the creator, bringing the creators down on earth. And this book finishes the conversation by letting you know that you are the creator having a human experience and that it came through the form of the Moors. Check it out. This is my longest book. This book is my longest book. It's 366 pages because I saved some important information for the end. But as I began, I also end because I honor scholars like William Leo Hansberry, who gave up so much. His life story is quite something else. What he did to get where he got, I had to write a book on him to honor him. The things that he went through at Howard University, the things that some of us, we Black people, did to him at Howard University. He was lucky to meet a wonderful woman, Myrtle Kelso, who he married, had 2 children, Gail and Kay. I had a chance to go to their homes and interview them. My interviews are in the book. I interviewed Chancellor Williams, who was a student of his. We are a glorious people, family. We have done so much, and we have so much more yet to do. You have so much to do. We have so much to do. And we have it in us to do it. I'm going on tour starting in 2026. I ask for our support. I call them statements of support. I want to go into communities that might not be able to financially bring me in. So I'm asking the community to support me. Whether it's to buy my book, go to my website, kabakamene.com. Go to the link in my bio, in my Instagram page, Kaba Kamene. Support the work I'm trying to do. I'm willing to go out and do the work. But financially, I don't have that money. So I need financial support. So you can go to my Cash App. You can purchase my work. You can go to my Cash App if you so choose. $ Kaba Kamene 7. The number 7. Kaba Kamene 7. I'm not going out like this. I'm going out shouting and screaming the glory of Black folk. We built this nation. There's a whole chapter on the pyramids in America. There's a brother by the name of R.A. Umar S. Bey. He wrote a book called Pyramids in America. He traces pyramids throughout this hemisphere. Illinois, Ohio, all along the Mississippi River. I did a autumnal equinox ceremony up on the top of Monk's Mound in a place today called Collinsville, Illinois. The native peoples called it Cahokia.
Cahokia Mounds.
There's a picture of me on the mound. September in September of 2015. What I ask you to do, family, in supporting me, check out my work. Okay? My newest book, Who Were the Moors Before the Moors, is on Amazon. You just Google Who Were the Moors Before the Moors. It'll come up. All my books are on Amazon. There's a reason why I'm on Amazon. It's a strategic reason why I'm on Amazon. And right now, that's what I'm doing. There's a couple other things that I'm working on, but right now, that's how you can get the book on Amazon. If by chance you are in a country outside of the United States, Amazon will always be. Because what it would cost for me to mail you the book would be more than the book itself. We have to get ourselves together, family. My question is, where do you see our people in 100 years? November 16th, I'm going to be 72. I have a 100-year plan. I'd like to think that I'm going to be around when I'm 172, but there's just a chance I might not. But that's not going to stop me from having a 100-year plan. We have to think in the future. Where do you want our children and our people to be in the year 2125? And after you come to your own decision as to where you want to see them, then begin to walk towards that. Begin to build a civilization towards that. That's what I'm doing in my work. Dr. John Henry Clark once told me, you may not be around when you reach your destination. You may not reach your destination in your lifetime. But if you leave the proper roadmap, those that come behind you will pick it up and continue your journey. My work, my books, what I'd like to do when I go out on the road, that's my roadmap. In 100 years, I may not be here. Who knows? I might Methuselaize this, but I might not. But that's not going to stop me from keeping on, realizing it ain't over till we win. So family, thank you for your support. My brother, Orisha Bami, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to our community. It is truly a blessing to be able to have this type of conversation with our beloved community.
Mm-hmm.
And to help them understand how much we love them, respect them, and honor them. And everything we do for the children. I don't pay back. I pay forward. Our ancestors did quite a great job. So what I do, I don't do to pay them back. What I do through them to pay forward our children and those that will never be physically in my presence. But I pray in libation, they will remember the work that we're doing. All power to the people.
Ashe. Yeah, nah, I love it, man. And real quick, first and foremost, I give thanks and gratitude as always, Professor Kaba. It was a member of the tribe probably like a week or two ago, man. It was dope because they was watching one of the old videos that we did, and they was just like how they saw the they could just see the energy exchange. I'm just like, man, you have no idea. Every time I talk to them, it's just like the first time, because I studied and followed your work for years. I mean, years before, getting the opportunity to be blessed with being able to work with you on this level. So it's like I'll never not be in a place of gratitude, and humility, knowing how, for me, it's like getting a chance to go to the league and play ball with Mike, man. Like I'm playing with, the dude who I look at as, what I'm saying, the man. So that's definitely something that I give thanks for. And I'll never get, it'll never get old for me, to be able to have these conversations every time. So that's a legacy within itself for my own little corner of the universe. Just from coming from the stands to, being able to get on the stage, man. So I give thanks and gratitude to you. Shout out to Heru. Shout out to your entire family, and shout out to the party you was at a couple of weeks ago, man. We was chopping it up about this before we came on. I wish I could have shared it, but you was in there turning it up. Well, I was like, well, look at Professor Kaba getting down with the get down, man. It was dope. That made my whole weekend when I saw that video. So yeah, I'm grateful, and man, nothing but gratitude and thanks. I give honor, grace, and I'm looking forward to next year. Anything I could do to promote, the tour, and I'm definitely looking forward to, having you here where I'm at, and maybe hopefully in Atlanta as well. We could probably put some things together. But I'm definitely looking forward to doing, the work in person as well as online. So all you gotta do is say the word, and I'm here to do it.
I appreciate that. And brother, may I just make a comment on what you said about, when you saw, what I had posted up. I had gone to my niece's birthday party, and man, the groove got right, the music was good, and hey, blame it on the rhythm, brother. I had to get up and dance. And up on my Instagram page, there was a lot of comments. Some folks said it brought a smile to my face. I really enjoyed seeing the OG dancing and doing all that he was doing. And family, just coming from a child's perspective, we have to show our children that there's a reason to live. The reason why we fight is to enjoy life. To take those moments, those isolated moments when family and friends come together with good food, good music, and dance, and to enjoy life. Because when our children see us struggling, our challenges, sometimes we may be a little emotional. They wonder, what is all this for? Is this what it's about? And what I appreciated about the post that they put up with me dancing and just really enjoying myself was the fact I fight the challenges in order to enjoy life. When our Creator developed us to come down here and be the creator on earth, He didn't do it for struggle. She, the Creator, didn't do it for us to live like this. It's said that before humans even came into existence on the earth, the dinner table was already set. The music was already planned. Life had already been planned. And when all that came into existence, then the Creator said, let there be light. And that was us. We were meant to enjoy life. We were meant to live, to love, to respect, to honor. We weren't meant to have to go through this. It was the free radical that mutated themselves out of Homo perfectus, the jealous and the angry, the envious of us, that created this. And that night, not too long ago, I was having a good time. And that's what life is about. And if I have to go through this to get there, show me the way.
By any means necessary. Yes,
Bottom
sir.
line.
I love it. Yeah, man. Ain't nothing, I'm not dropping anything after that. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to sign off, man. Because look, you gave us a whole extra hour and some change more than we initially, was supposed to get. So I give gratitude and thanks, man. And like I said, that video it made my whole weekend, man. I saw that like I had to highlight like that. Boy, look at Professor Kaba getting it in. Boy. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. So no, I give thanks and congrats on the book. Listen, so I got to get that one because right now I believe I have everyone except for that one. I got the melanin. I had the ebook. I think I got an ebook and maybe audio book too, if I'm not mistaken. Because you got that one, the audio book too, right? On Amazon, the melanin, carbon before melanin.
Yes. Carbon Before Melanin, Spirituality Before Religions,
Okay.
and Professor William Leo Hansberry. All of those are physical copy. They're ebook, and they're also audiobook.
Sure. Yep.
Shabaka Stone and Who Were the Moors Before the Moors are physical copy.
Sure. That's what's up. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely grab my copy, man. So I'm definitely looking forward to tapping into that one, and looking forward to tapping in with you again in the near future, Professor Kaba. So with that, I'm not gonna hold you any longer. If you got anything else you want to lead the tribe with, it's all yours, and I'm gonna sign out so we can, get this party wrapped up so we can get back at it tomorrow.
My thing is know your greatness. Gabriel Yibo, the great mathematician that was nominated for the Nobel Prize, once told me when we were working together on the Grand Unified Theory. I was doing Shabaka Stone, he was doing the Grand Unified Theory. He said the one thing that black folk got to do is own your greatness. Understand who you are and own your greatness. Whether you realize it or not, every morning that you wake up, you're winning. You see, they got the clock. We got the time. Know your greatness. All you got to do is keep on keeping on because it ain't over till we win. Solar power is the future wealth of the planet. And you got to believe, family, all power belongs to the people. No one group of people has the power. All of us have the power. So just love yourself. In fact, here's how I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to give you the homework assignment that Dr. Clark gave me when I first met him when I was 12 and a half. It was about 5 young brothers and sisters that was with him. Elders brought us, old heads. And he gave us a homework assignment. And I took it very seriously. I still do it to this day. He said, I want you to go home and I want you to go into the bathroom and look in the mirror. And I want you to tell the person you're looking at, I love you, and mean it. He said, because if you can't do that, there's nothing anyone else can do for you. And I've taken that very seriously throughout my life, to love yourself. Love the melanin in your skin, the width of your nose, the shape of your lips, the kink in your hair. Because the Creator don't make mistakes. And how you were meant to look is how you look. Don't make mistakes. That's who you are. We're going to make this happen, family. For those yet to be born, have a 100-year plan. Where do you see our people in the year 2125? Then start working towards it. You may not get there, but if you leave the proper roadmap, those that come behind will pick it up and keep on keeping on. All power to the people. Peace, family. Thanks again, Orisha Baby.
Yes, sir. It's my honor and pleasure. So with that, tribe, give thanks to another legendary conversation, excuse me, with the legendary master teacher, excuse me, Professor Kaba Kamene, man, coming to grace these Ashe streets, another great time. So I look forward to the next one, and I'll definitely be in touch, Professor Kaba, man. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, every time you come, you do what you do, and we sitting here, just soaking it all in, man, and just absorbing it. But I definitely look forward to, the next time we get to do it. And I can't wait till we can do it again in person. So with that, I'll be in touch. And family, I'll see y'all this weekend for sure, Tribe. And yeah, I definitely be in the Patreon heavy this week as well. But I definitely see y'all this weekend, and we got some more content lined up too. So with that, I give thanks, Professor Kaba, and I'll talk to you soon. And I'll see you on the next one. We out, family. Peace. Odabo.
ẹni tó gbàgbé ilé sàpò ìyàpọ̀ tẹ́ǹtì ẹni takísà ní tàtàn ò bá padà sílé anítìjàkọ ẹja lọ pé eégún mo sì ẹni gbẹ́rẹ́ ìpàkọ́ forsake not your ancestors and praise your.